Welcome to Happy Hips mini course. I'm super stoked that you're here. We're going to be learning a lot of great stuff in this course that will help you optimize your hip opening poses when you get into your yoga practice. Now that is the first thing that I want to address. Hip opening. Now often in hip opening, we look at hip opening primarily in a yoga practice, we look at hip opening primarily through the lens of flexibility only. Now, within the Undoing Yoga method, this is just not sustainable because in order for our hips to truly feel able to open up, we need them to have a support container, not to mention a level of stability within the hips in order to promote just everyday functionality. So that is the first thing that I want you to consider within looking at hip opening and happy hips through an Undoing Yoga lens. Let's get rid of looking at hip opening just through the lens of flexibility, and instead we're going to change that to stability. So in order for something to be stable, it needs to be able to move with freedom, but it also needs to be able to stay and have a structure to it. Now, if you think of yourself as opening up on an emotional level, if you don't feel supported and you don't feel held and you don't have a structure, a support structure, the likelihood of you being able to open is less. Now your body is the same. So the hips need to have a safe enough support structure. Let's look at that through the lens of strength in order for them to feel like they can be flexible. We put those two things together, strength and flexibility, and we combine them as stability. In other words, we are developing the stability and the functionality of the hips. And that's the first point of the Undoing Yoga methodology that we really focus on in order to create a sustainable yoga practice. So we're not just seeking flexibility in the hips, we're seeking strength and flexibility, therefore stability and functionality, which equals a hip joint that can last you for a long, long time. The second component that we're going to focus on when it comes to happy hips in this Undoing Yoga methodology is depth. The Undoing Yoga methodology focuses on multi-dimensional depth, not just one-dimensional depth. Now, let me give you an example of one-dimensional depth that we see playing out in yoga practices all the time. Pigeon pose, for example. We often think of depth in pigeon pose as bringing our bodies closer down to the ground. Now, that is just one-dimensional depth. I would love for you to be able to consider what depth actually means to you in your body. Perhaps depth actually means that you are lifting yourself away from the ground. Perhaps depth means that you are twisting your body to the right or to the left. Depth is multi-dimensional, and now that is just a physical depth. What about a depth within the mind? What about a depth within your emotions or your energy? That is a whole other component. So we're looking at our hip opening and our Happy Hips course through the lens of multi-dimensional depth, not just restricting ourselves with this idea of one-dimensional depth, that in order to do a pose in a deep way for our bodies, that we need to just go in one direction. No, we've got all kinds of directions. We've got front, we've got back, we've got side, we've got up, we've got down. Multi-dimensional depth is very, very important when it comes to a sustainable and empowered yoga practice. The next thing that we're going to be focusing on this course is options and modifications and how there are no superior options. Because right and wrong only exist within the context of what you want to achieve as someone who is doing a yoga practice. So allow yourself to step away from this idea of one particular modification of a yoga pose or one particular option being more beneficial than another, or a universal option that universally benefits and is superior over another option. It just doesn't exist. In the Undoing Yoga methodology, we recognize that we all have different needs. So a superior option of a yoga pose is literally decided by you based on your needs and what it is that you want from your yoga practice. And now the final component that we're going to focus on in this Happy Hips mini course is curiosity, play, experimentation, exploration. And what that means is I invite you to step away from the shackles of correct alignment, from the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, the rights and the wrongs. Again, right and wrong exist within the context of what you want to achieve. So when you allow yourself to be curious in your body, in your practice, and you allow yourself to intelligently and mindfully play and experiment and explore with various positions in your body, this breeds your inner wisdom. This allows that inner knowing to come out of the woodwork so you can be empowered and you can decide exactly what it is that you want to do every single time that you step on your yoga mat. So with these 4 things in mind, there is no one-dimensional depth. We've got multi-dimensional, multi-directional depth. We've got stability instead of just flexibility or just strength, stability. We have got, there's no superior options. You decide what's going to be best for you. And curiosity. With these 4 components, this is how we're going to approach some of our happy hips exercises and poses today.